Clark Atlanta University. This is more than a campus. This is a legacy, a living, breathing history written by those who dared to reclaim their power through us.
Let us not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution where it is a political party that will make it unnecessary to march on Washington, where it is a political party that will make it unnecessary to march in the streets of Birmingham. Those who have said be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. We do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham. But we will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today. We must say, wake up, America, wake up, for we cannot stop, and we will not and cannot be patient.
At least we tried, y'all. Don't be too down.
I know, but I can't even help but feel like we didn't even get our point across.
Exactly, and none of our classmates even showed up. It's so disappointing.
Shoot, they paying all this money for their education and their needs aren't even being met.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Most of the people in our generation are scared to use their voices.
Scared they'll be judged.
Sad. I wish we could all just come together. It'll be so refreshing.
It would be. And I wonder what it was like back in the old days at Clark.
I bet they all stuck together and got things done around here.
Right.
I wonder what the community was like back then surrounding us.
Think about the people who went before you and what brought them here. They really didn't have the choice. And when you think about how strong both of the parent institutions were during that time, you really need to understand that our past is something that we continuously build on. Look at who you are as a person. You're a part of our living history. Everything that you do, everything that you have brought to the table from which you came, you're a part of our history.
Every one of those people were a part of building something bigger than themselves. It was all built solely because someone believed in the mission of education. The history has always been right here. We just have to slow down long enough to notice. This is Reclaiming Us.
What does this community mean to you?
It means that I'm responsible for these folks because of my time and experience. I think that I'm responsible for them to make sure that this generation or next generation are academically sound. Because most people look for history 200-300 years ago, where history is being made every day. Every day. So people have to be reminded of their academic selves, and that's why I'm here. So I enjoy that. Yeah. So my whole purpose is to make sure that these folks get a little information. What they do with it, it's on them.
To reclaim us means to remember who we are and who we are becoming. In order to understand where we're going, we must sit with those who know where we've been. It's up to us to write a new chapter, but we must know where the story left off.
I love this community, but this community has failed. And what I mean is that when I think and recollect about what this community was when I first started here, I mean, the governmental housing projects lined and surrounded this campus. It lined Student, Movement Boulevard. So there was more of engagement with people who were not necessarily here to, get an education. But we had, based on Dr. Cole's push, a whole lot more engagement with Washington High School. We had so much more engagement with the community outside. And over the years, we failed. The community right there is struggling as much as it is when we have people who study business here. We study psychology. Why aren't we in the community working with the counselors and things with, these young kids who are struggling right now? Go and teach these folks in the community how to balance books and taxes and investments. And that's what I'm talking about. When you talk about social work, when you talk about engineering, when you talk about all of the things that we're studying here that could really have a direct benefit on people just 100 yards from here, it's saddening. When you look at James P. Brawley Drive, once it leaves our campus, you begin to see some of the highest poverty in the city of Atlanta, to the point where they call it the bottom.
We spend our lives waiting for the right moment, the right cause, the right courage. But the truth is, every moment we hesitate is a moment humanity stands still. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. Even if that victory is simply daring to care, to speak, to act.
And you talk about it in the context of a living legacy. Tell me what that means.
So it means two things, because quite frankly, all of us have a living legacy. And it really is about legacy now, not at the end of your life. It's not, it can be about accumulating a lot of resources to pass on to the next generation. It can be about doing enough wonderful things in society so that your name is put on a building. But the reality is we live our legacy every day. We're not all going to have these huge, monumental, well-known legacies, but every last one of us has something to deposit, just a little something, hopefully to make the community better than it was when you arrived. One of my favorite quotes is a quote by Horace Mann on the campus of Antioch College, where my mother went, which says, "Be ashamed to die until you won a victory for humanity." Very, very powerful. And it took me a number of years to break that message down. That message is basically saying, look, you can win a victory on your street. You can win one in your school system. You can win victories in our city. Some will win victories in our state and our nation, and some even in our world. But the words only mean, be ashamed to die until you've done a little something to make the world a little better than it was when you arrived. And guess what? All of us can do a little something. And if we all, and I mean really all, were doing something a little bit, this would be a phenomenal nation and world.
See, you got to know where you come from. You got to know who you with. You got to know who you've been taught by. You got to know who you rubbing shoulders with. Don't waste your time comparing yourself to other people.